Welcome to the Fanatical Elfz Show, part of the Elfz Network. We are a bunch of wild and crazy Cleveland Browns fans, bringing you all the latest in Browns news. Tune in now. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Fanatical Elfz, part of the Fanatical Elfz Network. And I'm your host tonight, or collaborator, John Suchan, along with Elliot, the Village Elliot, and Steve Gill. Welcome, Elliot. How are you this evening?
Oh, just outstanding. Thank you, John. I hope you are the same.
Trying to be. It's a Thursday night. It's 7 o'clock Eastern, and we are getting closer to that wonderful holiday in the middle of the summer that we all celebrate, America, July 4th. So we have started here, actually did a little bit of preliminary recipe cooking. You know, I have this new Stadium Mustard show, part of our network, and created another masterful food item that we're going to share on our next show here, probably on Saturday. And just finished doing that, and I can't wait to talk about it. We even have pictures, and let me just say, it was delicious. And if you're a Clevelander, you will love this item. So, Elliot,
okay. Is it corned beef sandwiches? I'm from Cleveland, and man,
yes.
Is it,
well,
okay,
no, it's not corned beef this time, but you are on. You're warm. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, you know, in Cleveland, we're all honorary Central Europeans, you know, so we like stuff that comes from like Poland and Czechoslovakia and places like that, and has sauerkraut and stuff. And that's kind of comfort food, football related. So, yeah, I think that's really cool. Like it.
Thank you. And I want to share this out too, just before I move on to you, Steve, and welcome you, that my cousin Chris, wonderful, you know, I got these great cousins up there in northeastern Ohio, up there in Euclid and up there along the lake. And Chris reminded me on the photo I put out there on social media, it was not Stadium Mustard. It was the original Ballpark Mustard. And actually it was Bertman's Ballpark Mustard. And I did a little bit of research on that with the Stadium Mustard and how the Stadium Mustard came along from a guy that used to work for Bertman's, and that actually it's been primarily used at the stadiums. But when I took the photo, it was Bertman's Ballpark. So even though we're calling the show Stadium Mustard, the Stadium Mustard Show, I do want to give claim to Bertman's Ballpark Mustard. There you go.
Well, if you do that, then he'll sue you for copyright. So, yeah, don't use his name.
Exactly.
Come on.
It's like calling all tissues Kleenex.
Yeah, you can't do that. Yeah, call it the Tissues Show.
Steve, how are you down there? Dog pound
Doing
south?
great.
Yeah.
Doing excellent. Speaking of Cleveland recipes, and by the way, I do have a bottle of Stadium Mustard in my fridge, even though I live in Nashville. Always got to have it. My wife, in honor of the show tonight, made brats and sauerkraut and pierogies.
Oh, we'll be right down. We'll be right down. Did you on my initial show, Stadium Mustard? I did talk after the break about how, like you just said, Steve, it is mandatory if you are a Cleveland fan. You have to have the bottle of Stadium Mustard. My cousins and my uncle in Kansas, in Wichita, where I lived for 25 years, they would order several, bottles of it and have it stored, so they could always have one in the refrigerator at all times.
Well, when I was president of the Middle Tennessee Browns backers, we always gave away a bottle at halftime.
Yes.
It's become a tradition. In so much as people get anxious in the crowd and go, what about the mustard?
Right.
And it's one of the big prizes. And it's, it's a free raffle ticket, and people go crazy when they win a bottle of Stadium Mustard. Got to have it.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, I want to give also shout out to my dad before we get started here. I was recently on a radio show called voicecore.org, which is a great organization. They do radio for the blind community here in Central Ohio. And I happened to be on one of their sports programming a couple of weekends ago. And my dad wanted to point this out because, he listens to all of our podcasts, and he said that I sounded yes, he said I sounded much more calm and not excitable like I am right now. So
we'll have to do something about that.
That's right.
Yeah, we just got done talking about stadium mustard. So
I know, it's exciting.
Excited. Calm down.
Okay. Well, I also want to give a shout out too. If you notice, I'm not wearing my brown stuff tonight. I'm actually wearing my new. This is my new school I'm working through, Licking Heights, the Hornets. So excited to be working with them this year. So that's the attire tonight. But you guys are all wearing your brown stuff, so I like your outfit, Elliot. And Steve, you got your hat on there.
What color?
Well, one of many.
Would be maroon, and it looks like a light green. Is that right, or what color?
It's yellow. It's maroon and like golden yellow.
Oh, okay, golden yellow. Okay.
Yeah, so maroon and gold. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, my visual has a little bit too much green in it, so. But okay, then it would be cool. Then you'd be the Green Hornets. That would be cool.
The green. There you go.
But okay, but Yellow Hornets is okay. All right, we like the Hornets.
What, Steve?
Nothing. I was going to make a bad joke with the name Cato, but never mind.
All right, so we are rolling. By the way, we are the Fanatical Elfz Network, and we appreciate you listening or watching us here on Twitter, on YouTube. Again, you can follow the show at Elfz Network on Twitter and all these other platforms. We love getting extra followers. We have our giveaway tonight. We have more stuff we're giving away. We gave our license plate to a great guy out there in California. It's in process of being shipped out there right now. So he's excited to get that, and we're going to be giving out some more gifts here in a little bit. So Browns coming up with training camp and expectations kind of leading up to that. And what are your expectations there? And, there's been, Deshaun Watson, getting prepped. So let's start with you down there, Elliot. What are your expectations just kind of going into training camp after mini camp? And what are you initially looking at? And also I want to give a shout out to you. You wrote I think it was you that wrote a wonderful piece today on Dog Pound Daily. Go check that out. Dog Pound Daily. Elliot Cannell wrote a piece about the Browns running back room. Despite having Nick Chubb, who's an elite runner, the title might be a little catch your eye about it not being an elite group. But I wanted to hear about that and about your expectations for spring.
I only read the title.
Yeah, what is the title anyway? I didn't. We don't always in this business. You don't always get to choose the.
Yes.
Title, just because you're a writer, you don't have control over that.
I'll look that up while you.
I wanted to pick the most controversial title possible.
Cleveland Browns rushing attack is way overrated.
All right, yeah, overrated. I chose that. You know why I did that, John? It was because of you. I told Randy that I was jealous of you because you got all that attention for Myles Garrett, and so I said in the article that Nick Chubb is the top running back in the NFL. Did I say one bad thing about Nick Chubb? No. But I did say bad things about running back number 2, 3, and 4. That all told combined, they have 41 net yards rushing in their careers.
Yeah.
And I said, just because you have the best running back in football does not mean that you have an elite running back program, or that the game, the running game is not there. So you need more than one running back. And but I'm predicting that there'll be all kinds of Twitter hate just because I
didn't know if you were already getting overrated. I didn't know if you were already getting. I didn't know if you were already getting.
So. John, I'm so jealous of you. You got all this attention because of Myles Garrett, even though you love Myles Garrett.
And I think I even said that. Yeah.
He's not, a leader, quote unquote leader. Like, what do we expect for him to do anyway? Run for president? But like I think if he challenges Donald Trump for the Republican nomination, he will not get it. That's my prediction for Myles Garrett. Feel free to disagree if you want, but Myles Garrett is not going to beat Donald Trump for the Republican nomination.
So what if he names Nick?
35
what if
years
he names
old.
Nick Chubb as his running mate?
Well, then he might have a shot at it. But
So,
yeah,
Elliot,
I do believe Nick Chubb is the number one running back in the NFL. That is my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
He has the greatest running ability. Plus, he can block. He can do everything. He hasn't been asked to catch passes that much, but I believe that he does have that skill, and he will use it this season. But I think that the rest of the running back room is unproven. And 41 yards.
I thought Ellie, Joel had a good take on his. He had an interesting scenario, and maybe Steve, you've talked about this too. His take was the battle for that number 3 running back spot. We talked about Demetric Felton, but he was bringing up Elijah Moore, and his question on his show, What the Elf Was That, was what would you rather have? Would you rather have a wide receiver who could then also play in the backfield on some gadget plays as their third running back, or would you rather have a running back, Demetric Felton, then go out and catch passes? And Joel's take on it was that he'd prefer to have Elijah Moore. And then that's really one of the battles that we're going to watch during this training camp.
Well, why not? I mean, Demetric Felton was listed as a wide receiver last year. Why not have Elijah Moore listed as a running back? That's pretty clever.
He was listed as a running back.
If you think about it.
Yes, and I hadn't really thought about it.
If you think about it, that would allow them to keep 7 wide receivers and not 6.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, I don't see any problem with that. But I do think.
But you better have a good running back on the practice squad, ready to go.
Felton was listed as a running back, but he only had 1 carry last season for the whole year, I believe.
Yeah. Joel was suggesting that you could stick Demetric Felton on that practice squad for at least a little bit of time during the season and get him there without other teams.
He would not be claimed, probably.
Yes.
Yeah, I think he could be put on the practice squad. Now, whether he would sign with the Browns is not clear. He might feel that he has a better chance with some other team. But yeah, exactly. I think the 53-player squad, you go with the 53 most talented players. You don't just start putting people on the squad because, we need 4 running backs, so let's go with 4. Yeah, I think
that's a good point. That's a really good point. Yep.
I think these guys would be in trouble. But I also think that the Browns have some undrafted free agents that could emerge at the running back position could surprise. They have some guys that didn't play for good teams in college, did not post statistics, but they were pro day wonders. They put up really good 40-yard dash times and the 3 cone drills. They excelled at, and they jumped out of their shoes for the broad jump, and they really look like they're premier athletes. So there's a chance that they could, pull a rabbit out of their hat and find somebody. Anybody with a uniform number is a threat, but they just really don't have a guaranteed guy that's going to go out and replace a former Pro Bowl running back like Kareem Hunt. They don't usually grow on trees.
Yeah. Steve, expectations just initially going in, your thoughts on what you're kind of, I listened to your podcast, the Dog Pound South, the other day, and you were talking a little bit about Watson, and just what are your thoughts?
I'm in on Deshaun Watson.
Yes, you are
totally in on Deshaun Watson. Although I saw a ranking of current quarterbacks, and some clown listed him as number 26.
Really?
2 spots above Baker Mayfield, and that's the guy who's just looking for clicks. So
now I saw him listed as high as the number 11 on one of the guys over at ESPN this last week. 11, yeah.
I've seen him, between 9 and 11. I think he's a top 10. I mean, he didn't forget how to play football. He was rusty. He made bad decisions. Well, he didn't play in 700 games. So, I think the vibe, like you mentioned this, John, the vibe in the final OTAs was extremely positive. Everybody was having a great time. Let's just hope we get to West Virginia with no players making any news of any kind.
Now,
Cross our fingers.
Before we go any further, I had one other battle that Joel, the left guard, check his podcast out. What the Elf is that? His battle was between Whippler, the new kid they got from Ohio State.
The center, Whippler and Nick Harris.
Whippler and Nick Harris, correct. And
remember, Nick Harris started his career at Washington as a guard.
Yes.
And then he moved to center. And he's a little small for a center.
Yeah.
But Luke Whippler, he will not pass through waivers to the practice squad.
Right.
I mean, he was a round one.
So
talent,
does that mean that, I mean, Whippler would get the start? I mean, he would get that potentially?
Well, if you're looking at the backup guards, who you got? You got Michael Dunn, Drew Forbes, the kid they drafted last year, Deaton Dawson, who got hurt in training camp, Gossett, a guy they picked up. There's another veteran they picked up. Oh, I can't.
Yeah, he's a former Brown. This is his second time around.
Yeah, second time around, and a guy named Martin that they also picked up. Not a stellar group, except Dunn is your emergency center. Unfortunately, he got hurt last year, and that Froholt had to play, totally out of position. But he would be like your. But if you're a football team and you can have two guards that could also play center, just in case catastrophe struck again like it did last year.
Is it Posick who will be playing center?
Posick. He is your starting center.
Yeah, yes. Posick was outstanding last season.
Top 5
Big
center.
surprise.
Top 5 center.
Yeah, that position is taken care of. Nick Harris.
Surprised me. Andrew Berry finds offensive linemen.
All right, let me pose this.
Drew Forbes played center for the Browns in preseason a couple times. He can play center, and Dunn can play center. Everybody plays center on the Browns. Dawson Deaton plays center.
Yeah,
who doesn't play center? Pardon?
I don't.
You don't play center. Oh, what's your problem?
I'm not on the Browns.
Does Colby Gossett play center? I don't know. He probably does.
I don't think so. He could. But that's what we'll find this out in training camp, because they like to do that early in training camp after probably the Hall of Fame game, because they only have one practice prior to the Hall of Fame game.
I don't know. Colby Gossett has been in the NFL for about 4 years. I'd be very surprised if he didn't get some reps at center by now.
Well, the other guy they signed, Martin, he's been in the league, I think, 5 years.
Yeah.
So,
worst case scenarios, best case scenarios for the season as we move in, from training camp into the season. Let's start with worst case scenarios, things that you would really go, oh gosh, this is going to really affect the team. Steve, let's start with you. What would be something that
17. That's it. That's my list. 0-17.
Now I talked about 3. Yeah,
we're Browns fans, so everybody's going to throw in a little.
Well, I threw out the 3 players,
there, but
on my
0-17 is my worst case scenario. And we're starting over again, and I'm too old for this crap.
Aren't we? Right. Yeah. Okay, so let me just, Steve, we'll stick with you on this one. Best case scenario. Don't say 17-0.
What's wrong with 17-0?
Okay.
I love 17-0. No, but I'll coach it. How about Super Bowl? No, seriously, I think
that should be the objective every year. Why not?
That's every team.
Yes.
From the
that's a
Kansas City Chiefs all the way down to the Arizona Cardinals. That's what they're here for.
Yes. Elliot, what would your worst case scenario be for the team?
Yeah. I mean, Browns. Well, look, we've got a quarterback that has had 2 ACL surgeries, and he likes to run. own up
That's
to
a
that.
very
We've got a
good.
quarterback.
I don't think we've talked about
has-
that enough. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we also have $200 million of guaranteed money invested in him for the next, I think, 4 years. No, 3 years after this, right? So
Yes.
now I've been told that there's no such thing as the salary cap. I respectfully disagree with that. We'll find out if that ever happens, if that ever comes to that point. There is also the possibility that Deshaun Watson might have some off the field issue that we don't know about. There's a risk that that might come back to haunt us, and I just don't want that to happen. I think that would be really a major disappointment beyond all reality.
Yeah. So so worst case scenario, we kind of addressed that. We've talked about Kevin Stefanski, our coach, in the past, and we've had some various conversations about Kevin. And obviously, we were talking about the fact that if the Browns went 0-17 again, that Kevin Stefanski would definitely be at risk of losing his job. Is there any other scenario? Yeah. Is there any other chance outside of going 0-17 that Stefanski does not make it through the entire season? Steve, why don't we start with you first?
Well, if there is a complete failure with this new offense, which I find hard to believe. I mean, the guy has made Kirk Cousins a playoff quarterback, Baker Mayfield playoff quarterback, and got Jacoby Brissett his best statistical year. So, but if there is just complete chaos, failure on the offensive side of the ball, I mean, like total disintegration, like just total, then yeah, that could happen. You've got to sit there and say, well, this just isn't working.
Yeah, and you don't definitely get that sense from Steady Eddie. I call him Kevin Stefanski. Yeah,
I don't get that sense of that. I really don't. But anything can happen. And like Elliot said, I mean, we have a quarterback that has past injury concerns and also off the field concerns. Now, do you hold that against Kevin Stefanski if something like that should happen? I don't know. Maybe Andrew Berry gets the axe if that happens, but if there's total offensive failure, I don't see it happening, but total breakdown.
Elliot, your feeling on that? Are you feel the same way?
Basically, yes. I think football is a very unpredictable game. We do our best to try to foresee what might happen, and the reason why it's so exciting is because it is unpredictable. You have the best athletes in the world that play this game. It's the hardest game in the world, but it is not fundamentally predictable. The random variables that are the most important are random injuries and off-field incidents that we don't know about. I would say that all of us, not just football players, but all of us are one bad decision away from ruining our lives. One bad decision could cost us our jobs, could cost us our family position, could ruin our marriages. Let me preach this to the fans who are listening. You are one bad decision from ruining your life.
Yeah.
There's a lot of bad decisions that you can make that could cause that to happen. So 0-17, I believe, should be widely understood in NFL. It's a competitive business. You can't do that and expect to survive. When the Browns did that and allowed the general manager and the coach to keep their jobs, that was a fundamental mistake. And then they tried to come up with an awkward arrangement in which the offensive coordinator had authority over the head coach. That was a complete mishmash of authority.
Yeah.
Obviously, Mr. Hasselman never been in the military. That's not the way that you can run a military organization. It does not work in civilian life. The football team is kind of like the military. You cannot do that. Cannot have the privates telling the generals what to do. That's ridiculous. That should never have been tolerated. Completely dysfunctional. Can't do that. But things like that, something that we think that, well, it couldn't happen. I don't think it'll happen. I think that the Browns will be successful, and I think that a successful Browns team would surely not fire its head coach if they missed the Super Bowl by one fluke play or something like that. That's not going to get him fired. But if they have a miserable season that's not expected for reasons that we cannot comprehend at the moment, it's impossible to predict. It's just really,
Steve, do you want to say? Yeah. Steve, what do you?
Prove Elliott's point about the unpredictability of the NFL. Who would ever thought the Browns would go into a game with the Jets with not one starting wide receiver, or that they're practicing in a parking garage, or that they would be down like last year to their fourth center and lose their entire starting linebacker core. To where at the end of the season they had 2 street free agents starting.
Yeah,
I mean that's the unpredictability about the NFL.
Well, this is not unpredictable. We're going to take a break, and after the break, we're going to do we're going to talk a little bit about Browns cardiac trivia, and also we're going to be giving our giveaway. So we're going to take a break. We'll be right back. This is the Fanatical Elfz Show. Thank you for listening. Okay, we are back on the Fanatical Elfz Show. Boy, that was a long break. Hope you enjoyed all
that.
That
was a long break.
Wonderful commercials. It's funny.
I got yard work.
I gotta tell you, it's so funny because, like, when our podcasts get on the platforms, depending on when they're put out there and which forum uses them, Spotify or Apple or iHeart, they vary the commercials, and sometimes they don't have the commercials plugged in yet. So it's funny because sometimes we'll have the commercials, and then sometimes I listened to one of our shows earlier this week, and I think it was Joel with you, Elliot, and he was like, okay, welcome back. And there was so we'll see what happens with ours. But anyway,
we should make our own commercial.
That's right.
Yeah.
So the trivia question today
is Stadium Mustard.
Joe Thomas is going into the Hall of Fame, and the trivia question has to do with who was the last Cleveland Brown to go into the Hall of Fame. We don't have too many of them, or not of recent memory. So I wanted to go back and share that, or get your, Elliot's looking like he's going to throw stones at me here. Steve, you mentioned the last off air. Would you share with the fans that are listening, who was the last Cleveland Brown that's been inducted into the Hall of Fame? What year was that?
Was it Johnny Manziel?
Oh, no. Unfortunately, it wasn't. He's in the SEC Hall of Fame, if you want to count that. He's probably in the Las Vegas Hall of Fame. But it was Max Speedy in 2020.
Wide receiver, right?
Yeah.
Yes, wide receiver.
Thus the name, Speedy.
Speedy. He was Max Speedy. I think Joe Thomas will make number 18.
18
Cleveland
overall. Okay. And the last offensive lineman, his name was Gene Hickerson. And he played back in the 50s, 60s.
Yeah, 60s? He played forever. He was like probably 38, 39 years old when he retired. But
no, Joe,
he was the guy in front of Jim Brown blocking.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. No,
you see him a lot in those Jim Brown highlights.
Joe Thomas was amazing, though. I mean, he didn't miss a snap. 10,000 some career?
663, I think.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You know what else is amazing? You know what else is crazy? Is that Doug Deacon might have had, they didn't keep track of snaps back then, but he might have had about the same number.
Really?
Yeah, nobody knows of him missing a snap, and he played in a huge number of consecutive games.
Yeah.
Did he retire from the radio booth? Did Doug Deacon, is he still doing that or no?
Last year he retired.
He did retire, yes.
Okay.
At the end of last year.
Yeah, I think he was having some mobility issues where he was actually physically having some difficulty moving around.
Yeah, Nathan Zagura.
Nathan Zagura, that's right. And then Jim Donovan is still, I mean, he's kind of recovering, doing some things with his leukemia. Is that right? Leukemia?
Keep our fingers crossed.
Yes, keep him in your prayers, fans.
Yes,
definitely.
Joe Thomas went to college. You guys remember where he went to college before he got drafted number 3 by the
Cuyahoga Community College.
Cuyahoga.
Yes, that's it. Great Lakes Naval Academy. No, that wasn't it.
No, that wasn't it.
It was a school that had buildings and a football field. Big football field. Yeah.
Okay.
Wisconsin.
That narrows it down.
Well, if boys, it was Wisconsin.
University of Wisconsin at Madison.
And Joe Thomas was out there fishing on one of the Great Lakes.
Yeah, that's right. He didn't attend the NFL draft.
It's funny, he didn't attend the draft, but then he played every down. I mean, it really speaks to.
Well, that was the more important part.
Well, he didn't want to get him. You know, a lot of the guys go there and then they get embarrassed if they don't get their name called where they're supposed to. And, you know, then the cameras.
Like Brady Quinn or Will Levis.
Drafted. Oh, my gosh. And, you know, they get embarrassed on national TV. He says, well, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go fishing. You tell me where I get drafted and I'll find out about it later. I'm going to have fun. Thank you very much.
There you go.
Elliot, we have come up on the best segment. Now, I always like Joel mentions on his podcast about his favorite part of his segment on his show, which is he hates the Raven hate segment. But we're doing the Steeler joke segment. And Elliot, do you have something tonight that you'd like to share?
Well, yeah, I do. These are true stories.
Of course.
Okay. Of course. Yeah, this happened. There was a Steelers fan that was working at a drugstore.
Oh, God.
They do have drugstores in Pittsburgh. And, you know, they kind of pronosticate words a little different in Pittsburgh than they do in Cleveland. But anyway, there was a lady who asked the guy who was a Steelers fan for some help finding Tampax. And the Steelers fan wasn't completely educated about such matters, and he thought that she was asking for thumbtacks. And so he replies, are you looking for the kind that you hammer in or the kind that you push in with your thumb? That could only happen in Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh. Oh, my goodness.
I love it.
What do you call a sellout in Pittsburgh when the Steelers are playing? What do you call a sellout?
I would have no idea.
The stadium is packed. A full set of teeth.
Oh man. Okay, that's awesome.
Anybody have another one?
Well.
Oh,
here we go.
Okay, yeah, there was a Cleveland guy who went to a bar in Pittsburgh, and there was a very cute Pittsburgh young woman. You know, Pittsburgh women are all right, you know, because they eat, you know, corned beef and, you know, healthy stuff like that, just like we do in Cleveland. And anyway, she asked the Cleveland guy if he wanted to potty.
Uh-huh.
And he said, nah, that's okay. I don't need to go. And then after a while, he figured out that what she meant was party. But the way she said it was potty, and he thought that she meant go to the bathroom. So. You got to understand the accent. If you go to Pittsburgh, that's the
yes. What is that sandwich shop in Pittsburgh where they serve the food with the
Primanti Brothers?
Primanti Brothers.
Oh, I love Primanti Brothers. Oh man, that is so awesome. Yeah. Gotta go to Primanti Brothers. They had one here, believe it or not, in Beaver Creek, Ohio, for a while, but it didn't survive COVID, and now it's something else. But oh man, that is so awesome. Primanti Brothers is the greatest sports bar. So yeah, got to go to Primanti Brothers if you go to Pittsburgh.
All right, guys, tell me what something that we want to know about the Browns. Anything extra that we our Did You Know segment about the Brownies that our fans might not know, that maybe something historically we've done our Pittsburgh jokes, so that's good. Steve, you got anything good tonight?
No, not really. After that Steeler segment,
you gave us your all there with that stadium joke with the full set of teeth.
I'm kind of. Well, I do know the Browns need to win the division to
that hasn't
make the playoff.
That really
Since
hasn't
1989, and it was the AFC North. That's the last time they won.
Think about that. That's 34 years.
Yeah, 89.
We say they have to do it, but we haven't done it in 34 years.
I know.
I
know, and they won it 3 out of 4 years. The 88 year they were a wild card, but yeah.
Okay.
And that was the AFC North, so haven't won the division AFC Central.
Do you AFC, think? The whole
South or North.
The first 4 games, I've mentioned this in an article for Dog Pound Daily. I don't know if he's released it or not yet this week, but I talked about the different parts of their schedule and different stretches in their season, and we've talked about this before on this show and other shows. But that first 4 games, it's hard for any team. The first quarter of the season, and it's no different for any of the other teams in the AFC North. They all play one another in that first 5 weeks.
Correct.
But it's just one of those things where I think they have to get off to a halfway decent start, at least win 1 game, hopefully 2. If they go 4-0,
I think they'll win more than 1 game.
Well, and the one thing about the Bengals, it's opening week, it's a home opener, but we are 8-2 against the Bengals since 2018. We're 5-1 under Stefanski, and we only lost for the first time last year to Joe Burrow. So
game 2.
Yeah, so really we're in a good position, and there's gonna be a lot of hype going into that game. I just hope that the pressure, the Browns can play through that and play well as a group. It'll be the first time for a lot of things. So.
Very true. Very true.
You
new offense, new defense.
Yeah.
But Elliot, extra week of training camp.
It's true. Elliot, anything you'd like us to know about the Browns' history? Or
Yes, I do have some recent history. You probably do know this, but we talked about going 0-17. One of the reasons why we did go 0-17 was because our dear general manager, Sashi Brown, who actually had the right basic idea, traded cut Joe Hayden because he wanted to save $4 million off the salary cap, even though Joe Hayden was really at that time, $11 million man. And, he had a bad year the year before, but he played the whole year needing surgery. And I can't believe that he played. Never mind, played at an acceptable level. It wasn't his normal self, but he still played, and he was an alternate to the Pro Bowl. But anyway, so he had the surgery. He was back, but they cut him anyway, and it was not a football move. It was purely a smarty pants salary cap move. Was cut, signed by the Steelers, and that's one of the reasons why the Browns were able to go 0-17 and get the first overall draft pick. But when Joe Hayden retired, remember?
Yes.
He retired as a Cleveland Brown, despite, really being screwed by the Browns, and losing his multi-million-dollar contract.
Yes.
For not a good football reason.
Right.
He came back to the Browns because he really felt loved by the Cleveland fans, by us, not by the front office.
And I saw that firsthand in October back in the Cavs had a game on the night before Halloween, and then the Browns played Cincinnati, and I think that was the game that he was honored at, or he was there because he was at the Cavs game, and after the game, I was there after the game waiting for the players, and Joe Hayden was literally like 10 feet away from me, taking photos and whatnot.
Oh, how cool!
Yeah.
So shout out to Joe Hayden. I love Joe Hayden. I was so mad, and in fact, it's in my blog. I predicted that you can't, do this kind of move and keep your job as a general manager. This is going to backfire. Yeah. This is not a smart move. And ultimately, of course, Sashi Brown did not survive the season for doing stupid things like that.
Yeah.
Although I think the idea about rebuilding by cutting cap and hoarding draft picks was the right idea at that time. Mm-hmm. But you can't make a move where you trade a Pro Bowl caliber player in order to save $4 million. That makes no sense.
No.
And so
also
shout out to Joe Hayden. Joe Hayden was somebody that loved us, and we love you right back, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
You also can't get rid of a veteran defensive player, a leader on that defense.
That made no sense. That there's no football continuity. You can't do that. It's like, cut out.
And now Sashi Brown is team president of the Baltimore Ravens. So
well, and then there's chaos in Baltimore now. So what do you expect?
Gee, I wonder why.
They're trading away their defense and getting overpriced wide receivers to placate their quarterback. It doesn't make any sense to me, but we'll see. We'll see. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they'll be winning all their games 50-49. I don't know. We'll see how it works out for them.
Yeah, everybody mentions the Browns will have a new offense in the AFC North. Nobody talks about the Ravens will have a new offense in the AFC North.
Very much so.
Yeah, completely different offense. Going away from dump offs and long passes to your tight end to try to open it up with Todd Monken to that high quality wide receiver group they have over there in Baltimore.
Yeah, worked so well and for the Browns in 2019. Why not bring it to Baltimore?
Why not?
Hey, so we want to give away our giveaway. So I have a winner.
Let's give away a giveaway.
We have a winner. Our winner this week for the we're giving away the keychain and the keychain necklace, or the holder.
Lanyard.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So our winner is his name is George Mallory at Browns for Life 18, and he follows the show and he retweets our giveaways. And so congratulations to George. Way to go. He's a big Browns fan. He has a little miniature Cleveland Brown guy up there. So we're thinking he's a Browns fan. So we'll reach out.
Well,
to
if he's got the D4L in his Twitter handle, then he is a dog for life.
Absolutely. So we're excited to give that away, and we'll have more giveaways coming up at the start of this next week. We're coming into the 4th. Yeah, we're going to have the 4th of July. We've got a lot of things coming up this weekend. We got our new show, the Stadium Mustard Show, which I talked about.
What about the mustard?
Yeah, what about the mustard? And 4th of July, again, is next Tuesday. Folks, we're going to be doing our podcasting. We may alter some of our shows because of the holiday next week, but we will have hopefully our full plate of podcasters out there. We all are contributors to various groups, from Dog Pound Daily to Cleveland Sports Talk to Northeast Sports Insiders. So final thoughts on the evening, guys. Appreciate you being here. We'll start with you, Elliot. Final thoughts on the evening, and happy 4th.
Okay. Well, yeah, I didn't get to really throw in my 2 cents about Deshaun Watson, but I do think that he's improving, and that he'll probably be about top 10. I don't think he's going to be a whole lot better than Baker Mayfield. But I think that they did have to make a move because Baker lost the locker room about as badly as you can lose it.
You don't know the half
over the OBJ affair. I think that really is what did him in. I think there was no way for him to stay on the team, and also because he didn't step down for Case Keenum and lost a bunch of games that the Browns could have possibly won. It's not like Case Keenum was going to take away his starting job. I mean, come on.
No.
Case Keenum was 45 years old and was just going to hand the ball off and throw about 3 passes a game. He was no threat. And so I think those kind of those factors, I think, made it impossible for Baker to stay, especially because Andrew took OBJ's side on the dispute.
Also, I have heard that he would change plays that were sent into the.
Really?
And kind of hacked off the coaching staff.
Oh boy!
Why he was still in there, I have no idea.
I know why. Yeah, I can tell you exactly why. Because he was so immensely popular, and he would have cried if they'd have taken him out. I'm healthy. I can throw. Look, I can throw the ball 80 miles an hour. And yeah, I can see exactly what would have happened, and they would fire Stefanski. He's not playing me.
That's a very good Baker imitation, though. Yeah.
No, that really is. You really go back and you look at that whole scenario, and then you look at Stefanski's background. If you really go back and study Stefanski and learn how he was and what he was doing, even out of high school, and all the things that he did along the way, and then you have him working with a quarterback like Baker Mayfield, just an interesting. Oil and or gasoline and water. They were just polar opposites.
He felt he had no choice but to support his quarterback, basically.
Yeah,
he could persuade Baker to sit down, but I don't feel he could force Baker to sit down. And Baker
then he would have been down. He would have been on the phone to Jay Glazer like in a heartbeat.
Exactly.
They're trying to sit me. They're trying to bench me. Yeah.
They hate me.
I'll show them. I'll go to Carolina. No, but anyway.
Steve, final thoughts on the evening.
Well, I'm just impatiently waiting to find out what other players are going to be suspended for this their stupidity over gambling. A former Buckeye and Titan offensive lineman got 6 games today. Petit Ferrer.
They did. Okay.
Yeah. In other words, weakening one of their most weakest position groups for the first 6 games. And his excuse was, "Well, I didn't bet on football." Read the rules. Come on, just the NFL has only explained this like 5 times.
Right.
Right. And the coaching staff should also explain it 5 times. But
that's not enough. Explain it every day. Explain it every day.
You come in.
But don't draft dumb players. You can't do that.
What really hacks me off here in Nashville is when they talk about something bad happened to the Titans, and then they talk about with a banner, NFL gambling policy. What do they show? They show Browns games where something bad happens to the Browns. My wife's got the TV on in the other room, and here I'm watching Indianapolis run a kickoff return for a touchdown against the Browns. What does that have to do with the Titans losing a player for 6 games? It never fails. It never fails. Stop it. But anyway, I'm looking forward to training camp. I really am. Now that Deshaun Watson has paid off his travel agent and he's back on the continent. So,
and guys, I just wanted to let you know, and the fans don't see us if they're not watching live, but we talked about this off air, but we have a new podcaster we've talked to a couple times who's joined us in the past, Sam Britton. And actually Sam popped on here for a split second and he lives
I
out
think
there.
he realized he got the time wrong.
Yes, he did. I just got a text message from Sam. Great kid from the Dallas area, and he will be joining us in future shows. And he has his own show called The Browns Breakdown, and I was happy to join him earlier this week. He put that out. I think we've got it on our Fanatical Elfz network, so you can check that out. But Sam is a rising star, and I imagine he will be doing lots of things.
Very talented young man
with podcasting and whatnot. So the sky's the limit for this kid.
Very talented young man, just like you and Elliot and Joel.
No, we're
well, thank you.
Well,
thank you. Well, thank you so much there, Steve. We hey guys, thank you very much for being here. This is the Fanatical Elfz show. And again, this is Steve Gill up there, and we've got Elliot, the Village Elliot down there, and they contributors to our network. We contribute to Dog Pound Daily, the Dog Pound South. They've got their own shows, football philosophy.
I'll have a podcast on Monday.
Excellent.
I will definitely have a podcast on Monday.
Dog Pound South, where it's everything that you're not Cleveland. And we love that.
A view from the outside.
Yes, a view from the outside. And so, Elliot, thank you again for being here as well. Guys, everybody have a great night. Again, go Browns. And we'll talk to you very soon. Take care.
Browns.
Take care.